Hello, everybody. Today,
Hi.
today we talk about the president being acquitted of his crimes that they say he did. I don't know whether or not he actually did them. I wasn't paying close enough attention.
Neither was I.
I don't think any of us really were. We tend to avoid politics around here except for shitting on everyone in it. And somehow we went up to 4 views and went back down to 2. And now to 1. Okay, we lost everyone.
Because we were talking about Trump.
Oh yeah, and how we do not care, and how we understand that even if he had been found guilty and removed from office, all the other people would have become a worse alternative.
Yeah, probably.
But before we get into that, I do want to let everyone know that the podcast is now on SoundCloud, and if I check here real quick, hopefully, if it shows it to me, I think I'm still waiting on iTunes to finish my podcasts. Yeah, it's still being reviewed by iTunes after 3 days. Still says submitted for review. So, we're still waiting for it to for them to check into the podcast and let us know if they allow us to send it out there. But it is on. We are on SoundCloud now.
Yay!
Granted, we do not have a website up yet because I do not know how I'm going to do this, and all the templates look like shit.
It's a fair thing to say.
Oh, but excellent news, Laura! I got
What?
myself a gun.
Like an actual gun?
Yeah.
Why?
Road rage the other week that I saw behind me and people out by where I work.
Oh, okay.
Shit in general. You know, just something to keep in the car once I get my concealed carry permit.
I keep it in the car. Oh, good. I love you.
What, keeping a gun in my car?
At least you're not our redneck friend who kept it by his bedside. Supposedly.
Well, right now it's sitting in my nightstand. In case someone breaks in.
See, our friend happened to exaggerate certain things, so whether or not he actually did have a gun on his bedside table leads to be seen. Or whatever that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what he was talking about. But back to the other thing. I was not surprised by Trump being found not guilty. Why? Because anyone who thinks that supposed oath of not being biased was worth anything that Congress had to take before playing jury is an idiot. It always goes down party lines. You really think the Republicans in the Senate are going to vote to find him guilty of all this stuff, and then apparently Mike Pence, the vice president, as a secondary party guilty of stuff, which would have put Pelosi, a Democrat, as the president through line of succession? You really think they were going to find him guilty and let a path for the Democrats to get the White House?
I have no idea what they were going to do.
No, I mean, do you really think Republicans are going to impeach someone, opening up a path for the Democrats to take the White House?
Depending on if the impeachment was warranted and if it made them look bad if they didn't impeach him, then I can see them doing that.
Yeah, but the impeachment process was completely messed up from the beginning. They didn't really have much evidence. They kept changing what they were charging him with.
Oh. Well, why was he, supposed to be impeached in the first place?
First, they tried to say obstruction of Congress over a bunch of stuff. Then they went with abuse of power, quid pro quo over the Ukraine thing, which, by the way, previous presidents had also withheld aid for corruption stuff, and all this other stuff he supposedly did. Here's my thing. They did it because they didn't like him. Seriously. Clinton, Bush, Obama, they all did impeachable shit as president. And Clinton, he only got impeached for getting a blowjob and lying about it. You still gotta love that. We are the only country in the world that first had a president that got impeached for getting a blowjob from a government clerk. And another one who goes through the who was impeached but then acquitted, just like Clinton was, for, and he was a reality TV star.
Yeah.
These are interesting times we live in.
He actually got impeached, or did he before his term was done for that? Because Hillary's still with him and stuff.
Oh no, he was impeached, but he didn't. But he was acquitted by the Senate. It didn't remove him from power. Right,
that's what I was gonna say. Because to me, I'm pretty sure most people have finished their whole terms.
Nixon was never impeached though with the Watergate. He just resigned. Before they could impeach him. And that one, he would have definitely been removed. But I do not believe any sitting president has ever been removed from office. And just by law of the last several presidents, Trump will get a second term. Because why? Because all the Democratic nominees are even crazier or dumber than he is. And because in my lifetime, we've never not reelected the president.
Yeah, I don't think we have. I mean, there might have been a president that wasn't reelected, but
in history, yeah, or ones that took over from previous presidents and were so bad at the job they didn't get another term. When presidents die and vice president takes over, that's happened a couple of times.
Yeah.
But a president that was elected for their first term usually just keeps getting reelected till the term limits are up, or they stop running. I know Lyndon B. Johnson would not accept the candidacy for president because he realized he did such a bad job. He refused to run for another term. So
I was shocked that it was funny because a lot of people were saying that Michelle was going to run, but she never did. Michelle Obama.
The funny part is, they were talking about impeaching for stuff before this supposed Ukrainian call that supposedly started all this. That's what gets me. They were looking for something to impeach him on, and they found one thing that might stick, but really wasn't ever going to try it.
Right.
And then they tried
to say, why did they want to impeach for that? Was it because, they were scared of the possible war aspect, maybe?
It was an excuse to impeach him. That was it.
Well,
it was just an excuse.
That's not considered over.
No, the
use
Democratic
of power.
The Democratic. No, it's not. Especially since he was saying for corruption altogether to get rid of corruption in the Ukrainian government, and it looks like a lot of these other people who voted to impeach him also has kids on that energy company's stuff. According to something my grandma posted on Facebook, I'd have to go in and do more research and actually see if it's actually true. I want to see a link to the thing's website and the official list of people on the board, because that should be public information, which we should be able to get a hold of. I want to see the actual document before you claim these things, because we all know how things work on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of other investigations, and then they tried to say about Russian bots trying to influence the election to get Trump elected. Except here's the thing. Before the election, we know that Hillary Clinton was selling uranium to Russia. Why would the Russians try to help elect the person who wasn't the one selling them uranium? And hasn't been too friendly towards them since he got into office. I mean, he's done the whole, they're allies, they're our friends now speech to, keep people calm. But we've gone against them with the serious stuff and all this other stuff. So, it's the whole thing. None of the claims made by the Democratic Party make any logical sense. And I mean, I'm not going to say Trump's a good president. Quite frankly, I think he's a crap president at worst and a mad president at best. He's not the worst, he's not the best. His term is... His administration is being painfully average.
Right.
Though they all give credit for shit.
I mean, it's not like the world ended when he was president, even though everyone seemed to think it would have.
Oh, that's just because Hillary Clinton didn't win like they wanted her to, because they wanted a woman president. And I'm not against a woman being president. Yay, go ahead, make woman president. Just not that one.
I think they made a woman president in another country.
Yeah, they have. What I'm saying is, everyone's saying that everyone didn't vote for Hillary because they didn't want a female president. No, they didn't want Hillary Clinton as our president.
Right.
A different one. I mean, there are other ones that I had seen, I forget their names, that I thought might be decent candidates that are women. So I don't mind the idea of a woman president, if they're a good candidate.
Right.
But the entire platform of Hillary's campaign was pretty much, vote for me or you're a sexist. And they called anyone that wasn't saying I'm with her a sexist. So they pretty much said, vote for her because we need a female in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
It had nothing to do with doing the job, doing it right. It's like, everyone wants equality. Well, these people want equality until you got to do the job the same amount of way and be treated actually equally. Like a court system. Like I found out in Michigan, there's no law protecting men against paternity fraud. So if a woman lies on a birth certificate and puts your name down as the father of her child, even if it's fraudulent, you're still on the hook for child support.
Ugh.
In Michigan.
That's awful.
Yeah. And they call a law sexist against women. I hate to say it, but when it comes to the legal system, women do end up, in a lot of states, women end up with a lot more rights than men, especially in parental and divorce matters and whatnot.
Well, when you look at, like, crimes and shit like that, like, say a woman, like, murders a person...
She'll get a lesser sentence in a nicer jail.
Right, and, like, obviously they'll still get time, or even something like... the whole teacher bit. Like, the woman has, is able to eventually get out. The guy, he's stuck in jail probably forever.
Oh, yeah.
And yet it's the same crime.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, it's the same crime.
Like, these two girls, there was, like, a movie based on them. They ended up, like, planning on killing their, like, mom or some shit, and they actually got out of jail. Like, it was based on a true story.
Uh-huh.
I mean, obviously they were in for a long time, but they got off without the death penalty and were able to get out of jail because they blamed it on psychological issues.
Which very much could have been the case. But you know,
yeah, I mean...
But you know, a man wouldn't even get that. A man would have been given death penalty no matter what. Because, I mean, we have people who are declared sociopaths, serial killers, who are definitely sociopaths, or simply sent to prison, where these people should be put in a mental institution.
Right.
Under heavy sedation. Not tossed in a prison. They're a sociopath. They will thrive in the prison.
Well, I don't know about thrive.
They're a sociopath. They have no problem killing people. They'll just kill a couple of people in the prison and then no one will bother them. You know, reign of terror. Sociopath. Or psychopath. You know, I get those two confused even though they're two different things.
I feel like psychopath is worse than sociopath.
It is, because technically someone who has Asperger's like me, who is introverted, could be considered mildly sociopathic. I believe a sociopath is someone who doesn't feel empathy, and a psychopath is someone who essentially gets off on the wrongdoing. Or something like that.
I'm gonna look it up. Psychopaths tend to be more manipulative, can be seen by others as more charming, lead a resemblance of a normal life, and minimize risk in criminal activities. Sociopaths tend to be more erratic, rage prone, and unable to lead as much of a normal life.
Okay, so there's a difference. Okay, so they would be sociopaths going to prison. The psychopath would be the guy who became your boss because they're really good at stepping on people and climbing the ladder of the
I
company.
mean, to be fair, I think that's where the term "he's such a freaking psychopath at work" probably came from.
That's because he probably is.
Like, I'm sure if the people who are watching, if there's any, eventually, you all, I'm sure, have the type of boss where they feel no remorse whatsoever for you, and talking to them, they like don't really. They hear you, but they don't really see you, if that makes sense.
And they'll even agree that you're right, but because they don't want to say that they're wrong, the fix will never get implemented.
They'll do the sugarcoat words and be like, "Oh yes, I totally understand. Yes, I hear you." And nothing happens.
Yep. Oh yeah, and they're horrible at their job too.
They're probably in the office saying that a different manager can do whatever you need them to do.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I learned a long time ago. Most people out to lie, cheat, and swindle you. So you gotta lie, cheat, and swindle them first. It's a dog
Yeah,
eat dog world out there, unfortunately. And I really don't like
I don't
lying,
think.
cheating, and swindling people, but
I mean, the issue is like there's very few like very pure people in the world, and most of the time they don't really get very far, unfortunately.
yeah, you're talking to me. I'm not that pure hearted or pure minded, but when it comes to my morals and my ethics, hate to say it, there are some times where if I wasn't so ethical and so honest of a person, I probably could have manipulated my way into a much better position, but I just won't. I won't stoop to that level.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that lied on their resume about things.
Well, they never check the resume, not unless it's a super high up their job with super specialties.
Right.
You know,
I mean, like, a lot of jobs, though, even in retail, they at least check that you kind of did retail before.
yes, because that retail manager is calling every boss you used to work for and making sure that you actually worked there.
I mean, no, but, like, they kind of want to make sure that you're, like, teachable and that you know how to run a cash register. So, fun
You
fact, I
know,
used to work at Dollar Tree,
yeah,
and they did actually want people to not only have a high school diploma so that they weren't hiring a dumbass, basically, and also have previous retail experience.
yeah. Although you want to know what's fun? I went to this little diner in the mall here where I live. It's actually a pretty neat little diner to get just a grilled cheese sandwich last weekend.
Yeah?
The cashier couldn't figure out the change when she hit 5 instead of 10 when I gave her a 10. All she needed to do was add a $5 bill to whatever the change was, and it would have made it $10.
Couldn't she just have rung up the order again?
Yeah, but here's the thing. She voided it out and rang it up again to get the change out, but she couldn't do the simple common sense of, ooh, you gave me a 10, I hit 5, so grab a 5 out of the drawer to make up for that, and then do the change from there.
I mean, yes, it was bad on her part to not know the math, but I mean, if she accidentally made a mistake, it'd be on her and it wouldn't be on you.
No, but it was the annoyance of it. I had to sit there while they re-rang it in because I couldn't do the damn math.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
asking, you know what? All these people I see that get these jobs, how the hell did you get these jobs, and why do I never get the call back?
Oh my god. What kind of job were you going for?
I went to several interviews for retail. I never got the job, and then I talk to people. I see these people when I go to the retail shop, and I'm like, how the hell do you have a job?
I have no idea.
I
Some
can't get a
people are.
job in retail.
Well, I mean, you get paid better than you would have in retail, right?
Oh yeah, I make 15.29 an hour.
Well, it's not like you're missing anything then.
No, no. It's just the point is that you see these idiots there working, and you're like, how did they get this job? I applied for these jobs a long time ago, and no one would hire me, but this idiot's got this job. How?
I
Or
have
how
no
are you?
idea.
Or you work with people, you're like, how are you still working here?
True. I feel like because we both worked at McDonald's, we both know a couple people that were a bit too dumb for even that job.
Yes, but we worked at a McDonald's with a mostly competent staff and a highly competent store manager.
Some of the people were not competent that worked there.
I said mostly competent staff.
If you guys want to hear an interesting story, we worked with this one lady who I want to say she was homeless, but I'm not 100% sure. Well, fast forward a couple of years, we ended up seeing her mugshot in the newspaper.
Which one was that?
It was like this one lady. I'd always be stuck like buying her food and crap because I felt bad she couldn't afford it.
Would this be the same one that walked out and the boss and the owner went and tried to check the cash register to make sure she wasn't stealing because she walked out the back door?
I don't know, but she got like arrested for something really stupid. She ended up like going into someone's house and went in there to take a shower.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, some interesting stories. I mean, they did hire this one kid the second time I went back, and he left the meat in the hot box so long it was all dried out. So I threw it. So after he wouldn't listen to me about making new, I threw it out and then shoved the pan straight back through the holder from the other side of the holder, just enough so it was sticking out the other side like halfway. Like I knew just how much to push it without it going out and onto the floor, so it'd be sticking out
Huh.
in its face. I'm like, yeah, you need to do this right, man. I don't really care if I'm not your boss. I've been here longer than you. And I did have that problem when I went back to McDonald's up there because I'd been gone for like 9 months. And a lot of new people had shown up and didn't know who I was or that I'd been there so long. So to them, I was just this new guy coming in trying to tell them, hey, you need to do this. And
Oh yeah.
they didn't really understand that when it came to me, while the crew trainers didn't need to listen to me, if you were another crew member who hadn't been there longer than me originally, it was a pretty good idea for you to listen to what I had to say. You know, it was like, yeah, that's the guy who's not a true trainer or manager because he doesn't want to be, but he knows what he's talking about.
And I don't know if it was the store we worked at, but they kind of eliminated the whole crew trainer thing. They just made people managers.
That was the boss trying to get people raises.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say crew trainers didn't really do that much comparatively.
No.
I mean, like if the main manager wanted to go take a smoke break or something, they'd hypothetically be in charge for like 10 minutes, but that's really about it.
And besides, most of the time when it came to the grill or the back cash, when we were there, I did all the training for people. I trained everyone on back cash when they came in new after I took over, pretty much. Unless I wasn't there.
Right.
So, you know. But that's a story for another day. But people are morons is
Gist
the
of it.
gist of it. And this idiocy goes all the way up to the government. We have to ask, how are these people in charge? My dad in the call yesterday was saying, when we pass Congress, when he goes with this school on a trip to D.C. later this year on a field trip, when we pass Congress, should I tell him that's where you go back to kindergarten? I said, that's where you go back to preschool, Dad. I think I've
Oh
seen
my gosh.
preschoolers bicker less than Congress.
I was told by when someone was describing like how Trump like did good things for workplaces. They were like saying, "Oh well, he actually like increased the standard deduction, so technically people should be getting more of a refund now and not less. And I'm like, I'm not entirely sure
Okay,
what it was before though.
here's what it was. Here's what it did. He increased the standard deduction, but he also reduced child tax credits, and he eliminated the ability for auto mechanics and such to deduct their tools that they have to buy for their jobs from their taxes. So, and auto mechanics have to buy all their own tools. I don't know if you
Right.
knew that, but your mechanic, that toolbox they work out of, that's their toolbox. That goes with them between jobs. Maintenance guy at your work, same thing. Mold tech, if you're doing injection molding or if you're doing metal molding or whatnot, that toolbox they have, that's theirs. And it comes with them and leaves with them when they come and go from the job. That's how maintenance and mechanical type jobs work. So does being a plumber, being an electrician. Anything you have to have specialized tools for, you have to pay for those tools yourself. And the government eliminated the ability to take those off your taxes.
Hmm.
Which sucks because what would happen is you could take those tools off your taxes, you'd have to depreciate them over a matter of years to get all your money, but you'd essentially end up getting all that taken out that you did not take that home. Now you're still taxed on that money and you're out that. And really, I think we should get rid of the child tax credit. People are having way too many kids, and I think some people are having kids just to get that $5,000 credit every year.
Well, yeah, I was actually talking to one of my coworkers, and when it came to what we ended up making for our year-end, salary, or you know what I mean. Well, basically, we made about the same, give or take $1,000-ish, but because she's got like 3 kids, she ended up getting like a $10,000 refund.
Well, I'm a single guy with no kids living at his dad's house. So I know I don't get to do here in Indiana, you actually can take your rent off your taxes. But because I don't pay the rent here and I'm not on the lease, I can't do that because of how you have to do that. Because of all the stuff you have to put in to take it off your taxes, I can't do that. And because I'm at my dad's house, I can't do head of household because they don't pay more than 60% of the household expenses. When
I
it
wasn't able to do my rent because it didn't end up being more than the standard deduction.
Well, rent is a state thing. State is different from standard federal deduction. This should be a state deduction.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah.
it's total amount of your rent or $3,000, whichever is less in the state of Indiana. You can take out a maximum of $3,000 for your rent every year. Now, um, because of the new tax code, someone like me, I get less taken out of my paycheck and I get a bigger refund, but only by about $100. But if you're someone who, let's say, buys a lot of these tools every year and now can't take them off their taxes, well, you're screwed. Now, granted, if you are a subcontractor and have your own business, you could still take those tools off as a business expense. It's kind of stupid. Believe me, it's seriously, it didn't really close that many loopholes and all that stuff. If we really want to fix the economy and fix these things, we need to get businesses to pay people more because, yeah, they cut those taxes and businesses grew. They said like a 4% growth. You want to know how much wages went up if they went up at all? 2%.
That's not that much.
That doesn't even cover inflation, which is at like 2.5 or 2.8%. So while you're making more than you would have without the raise, you're still making less money than you did last year on a 2% raise.
That sucks.
So, that is all that. So, yeah, so you end up making less. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Um, So yeah, so you end up making less, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, that would suck.
And of course, none of that is sustainable over the long term
No.
because it's the whole thing. There are 330 million Americans at my last count. And actually, let me, U.S. population. They're about to do a census. Okay, there's 331,002,651 people in the United States. And people try to say, well, if you want to make money, you just got to get a better job. Okay, a lot of these jobs that require degrees are paying less than I make now without a degree. They need years of experience for them and all that stuff. Or they say go into trades. Do you really think there are going to be 331 million openings for welders, electricians, tech guys, plumbers, and all that stuff?
Nope.
Exactly. And even if that did become the case, the plumber would get paid minimum wage. Why? Because everyone's a plumber. That's what happened in the tech industry. It used to be you could go in with a base certification, make 50 grand a year. But now, because all these people went and flooded the market with applicants, they can ask for a bachelor's degree, 5 years experience to make $11 an hour to ask someone whether or not the computer was if they turned on the computer or if it's plugged into the wall before sending them on to the next guy at the help desk. Because supply and demand. If that makes any sense.
It does.
So the thing is, it's like, you know the Great Depression, right?
Yeah.
Well, that had a combination of factors that caused it. But one of the main things that caused it was overproduction. And how did they? So the factories produced all these goods, and they sat in warehouses unsold. Now I may ask you, why didn't they sell? Couldn't they sell the goods? Because no one could afford them. Because they didn't pay people enough, and pretty much the wages were crap, and everything else was shit. Oh, these days you gotta have all sorts of qualifications just to go mine coal or be a miner, and that's becoming automated anyways. Which, you know what, I'm not really against completely automating the coal mines because, yeah, it puts people out of work, but, those jobs are extremely dangerous, and there's this whole thing called black lung. I mean, it's an honest day's work, but I would never wish that job on my worst enemy. Even though it pays well. Mostly because of the black lung. So, what goes on is lots of people want a job, lots of people go into it, the job drops. Now, there are jobs that should be paying more. Nurses and teachers, for instance. Granted, some teachers should be paid more than others. But how do you quantify how well a teacher's doing? And you need to get parents on board to get these kids to settle down. Because if teachers are not only getting underpaid, but also getting hit and spit at and all this other stuff that some kids are doing in some of these schools, why would that teacher care about the students if the students are treating them like that? Kind of hard to keep caring about someone when they treat you like that. So parents need to learn to be parents, because if the parents could be parents and these kids could actually pay attention instead of these people having kids too, because, ooh, I want a kid, or it's a tax credit, or, ooh, look, I want to have a kid, so the people in the office say, ooh, how cute your baby is. And all that. And because they wanted to be parents and wanted to raise a child. People want to have a kid because they want a kid. They don't want a kid because they want to raise a good citizen or a good human being. They want to have a kid to fawn over and whatnot, and once they get old enough to actually have that they don't have to take care of anymore, they ship them off to preschool or kindergarten or a daycare or a babysitter, and then they wonder why their kid never got the proper discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people are meant to be raised by their parents, or at least some parent, not as a large group by one person. Go to a daycare, you got 20 kids and 5 people. Yeah, the people are outnumbered 4-1.
Yep.
And then you wonder why kids act like little animals. And then when you get to the nurses, these nurses are exposed to blood, needles, infectious diseases, and they do all this work for the doctors. Starting IVs, grabbing medicines for them, administering the medicines that the doctor has prescribed, checking on the patients, sponge baths for patients that can't actually bathe themselves, that have to be bathed in bed, dealing with feces and urine and all that stuff. And they have to work 12-hour shifts and sometimes 24-hour shifts without any sleep. It actually causes, and doctors in ERs, residents have been doing the same thing for years, and it's caused many a malpractice to happen just because the person didn't get enough sleep. Like when I go to the ER, I'm a little concerned that my doctor may have been up for the last 3 days, and who knows if he's thinking straight. My health's in this man's hands, and the hospitals require him to have these hours, and not paying him so well. But they're charging me out the wazoo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously. The ER is the most expensive spot in the hospital to end up in, and the people there are paid the least in the whole freaking hospital. If the show ER is anything to go by. Which I think it actually is one of the more accurate medical dramas ever put on TV. I think. Granted, that might have just been because they were at a low-budget hospital in Chicago. Oh well, you never know. But the point is, we all know nurses don't make enough money for what they do.
They definitely do not.
And they get paid hourly, so yeah, they have overtime, but like, you lose your OT, you lose your house or whatnot. And that's the thing. You shouldn't have to work, because what it turns out is, what was going on is people weren't making a livable wage. Places were just letting people work a shit ton of overtime. And you realize, no, you still gotta work 80 hours to make a living. Which kills the entire point of the 40-hour work week, which most office buildings don't even need. Seriously, in an office environment, clerical work, you could have it done in 3 days. If that. Like, they spend less, I think the average one they said spent like less than half the work they're actually working. And their work was done for the day. But they couldn't go home. So they goof off on the internet. Anyway, one audiobook group, the one guy says that he listens to the audiobooks at his desk while he's working. And now,
while he's working?
Yeah, while he's working. Must have an office job. A nice office job.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get paid 70, 80 grand a year to do clerical work. And you have to be there 40 hours a week, but it really only takes you maybe 10 hours of the week to actually get your job done. Granted, I understand in like manufacturing environments where you're always doing something, you're constantly pumping out stuff and the work is truly never done. Having 40-hour work weeks,
Yeah.
But in business situations, unless you're like the CEO or someone who really never actually has a day off, because, if you're the CEO of a company, you may be on vacation, but you have the business phone with you. Or you're the director of a spot. You're on vacation, sure, but if that phone rings, you still got to go back to work. Just because that's the way these things work.
Which is tough.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of those type of jobs, you don't actually get a paycheck. What you get...
Yeah, because a lot of the time, the money you just you have to reinvest into the company.
That's if you're the owner. if you're like the CEO on the board of directors, what that is you get stock in the company, and the dividend and what the company is worth is what you are worth, which is why profits are so desperately wanted by people on these boards and whatnot, because the more profit the company makes, the higher the CEO's amount of money the CEO gets, because what he gets is a portion of is profit sharing mixed with stock options. He doesn't get an actual, well, he gets a salary, but most of that salary is paid out in stock. Like, he doesn't actually get
Right.
a paycheck of that salary in a lot of cases. So,
What I found interesting was the when I used to work a retail job, they had drastically cut everyone's hours, and they said it had something to do with the stakeholders, like, and profit margins and stuff, and I didn't completely understand what that meant.
it meant they were spending too much on labor, and the stockholders wanted them to start spending so much money on labor.
Hmm.
Because I don't know if you know this, but companies are legally obligated to put profit first.
Well, yeah.
No, I mean, it's not just in their best interest obligated. They are legally obligated to do so, even if putting profit first is detrimental to not only company, but the entire country. Because if they don't put the stockholders first, then the stockholders can sue the company.
Hmm. So stockholders are like the people that like help them
Okay,
like
you know
get money.
the app Robinhood?
Yeah.
Okay, you go on that and you buy stock. You are now a stockholder in that company.
Mhm.
Your 401k is invested in a stock. You are partly a stockholder in several different companies.
Right.
So, essentially, if you're a stockholder and the company's not making these moves to make more profit, and your stock goes down, which means you lose money, you're not going to be very happy. Well, the company is legally obligated to make sure that bottom line keeps going up and do everything they can to keep going up. Here's the thing, though. A lot of times, a smart business move may be to let your stock price go down for a little while because you're doing internal things, increasing the wage and whatnot to get more out of your workers, which would increase the economy as a whole. Short-term loss, but creates a snowball effect that creates a long-term gain. But because investors and CEOs go by quarterly reports and don't look 5-10 years into the future of the whole economy, they'll do something that'll create a boom for the company this quarter, but next quarter, the ramifications of what they did could make the company go bust. And that's how a lot of companies actually work. They don't reinvest the money back into the company. My work, we need a bigger building, but they refuse to spend any money on anything because they want their
Hmm.
profit margin. Yeah, they pay us pretty well for the industry, but they tell us we don't need more warehouse space, we need less product. But they keep trying to pump out more and more product and ordering in more and more supplies to make the product. We literally do not have enough room to produce what we're producing, and they refuse to expand because they don't want to spend money, because that would cut into the profits. And that is what kills a lot of companies. And that sort of thing is what's going to kill the entire economy. They don't want to spend money on labor. They don't want to spend money to maintain equipment. They don't want to spend money to expand when necessary. So what's going to happen is inefficiencies due to an insufficient amount of room in factories and workplaces, which will lead, and not enough people making enough money to buy anything, which will lead to another crash. Right now, the only thing propping up the economy right now is investment by people who are extremely wealthy, which invest in the stock market, which, hey guys, the stock market really doesn't have anything to do with the economy. It has to do with the health of companies, kind of, but the general economy of who can get a job and who can afford to pay their rent is not based in the stock market. The stock market can be doing well and everyone can still be getting evicted for not paying their rent. The stock market is a horrible guide to the economy because when your average person is still making 30 grand a year when they were making 30 grand a year 10 years ago, and the cost of living has gone up by like 8 times with like a 2 to 3% inflation over the course of the last 10 years, and that's compounded inflation, because it's compounding interest,
Yeah.
3% on 3% on 3%, just like how loans work. You end up realizing that, hey, we might be doing something that's going to kind of bite us in the ass. Maybe. One of those fun things.
Super fun.
Oh, super duper fun. So, yeah. So, essentially, if you don't pay everyone a livable wage, then people get foreclosed on, no one can afford to rent. And by the way, nobody's renting to anybody right now. It's, at least not online. If you want to find a place to live that's for rent, you have to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
What's it? Oh, yeah. See, I'm sorry, we gotta end the stream. I gotta take care of some stuff. Have a good night, guys.
Bye. It's probably been almost an hour,
Yeah, it
anyways.
has.